It's in our blood, it's in our bones, orange and brown, yeah, we ride for our own like a dog pack running. We ain't alone, game day comes, get ready for the show. It's our call, it's our bark, it's our song. We stand tall, yeah, we've been here all along. Through it all, the dog pound standing strong. We all dogs, yeah, we all dogs. Welcome to the Dogs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reniker, Justin Charles, Kenny Mack, and Josh All. We are dogs!
All right, Dog Pack, let's get this party started. Guys, Browns fans across the world, it's another episode of the Dogs Podcast, and this time it's not Josh all alone. It's Kenny Mack flying solo, and the reason's pretty simple. Believe it or not, Josh actually takes vacations once in a while. He's off spending some well-earned time with his family, so we decided to take a topic that would be relevant by the time he gets back, but I got to give this early. It's got to get edited. So I generally do one episode a year where I kind of look backward before I look forward, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to do a deep dive into the 2025 Cleveland Browns. It's just not going to be a recap. It's going to be a story of how that 5-12 football team became the 2026 Cleveland Browns. Guys, you're going to have to forgive me. I got something going on with my throat, and I'm going to start coughing. So hopefully I'll get through this. I know Josh has had a couple of those as well, but I'm going to try and stay energetic. So let's get back to it, because you guys, we want to look back at everything that happened over the last year. Every major move the Browns made this year can be traced back to something that's happened during the season. Guys, what happened? What can you think of? Offensive line struggles, quarterback carousel, receiver issues, special team mistakes, coaching energy. I'm trying to get the energy. Coaching changes, emergence of young players, Myles Garrett's record, and the trade. I don't want to say it. All of it, man. All of it. This wasn't an offseason where the Browns simply tweaked a few things to get better. It was a reset. In fact, the owner termed it the 120-day reset. And whether you agree with every move or not, there's one thing absolutely clear. The Browns picked a direction. Now, it's a direction that remains to be seen, but for the first time in a long time, every move that made points, in my opinion, to the same vision. Now, it's early on, but we're going to walk through how we got here. We're going to revisit the highs, the lows, and there was plenty of them. The emergence about up and young coming players. We'll discuss Myles Garrett's history season and the difficult decision to, I got to say it again, trade him. We'll break down the Todd Monken hiring, complete, and talk about that offensive line, free agency, the draft, and why the Browns believe they're building something sustainable. But before we get into all that, don't forget about the dogs themselves, thedogpodcast.com. Guys, leave us a voicemail, send us an email. And as always, we love hearing from you guys. Some of our best conversations are the ones that come from the ones in the comments on this show, the questions, the voicemails. Hell, that's how I got started. And you guys know you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, X, and I think we're still doing TikTok. Not sure. But before we get started, I personally want to say thank you, because I know Josh gets to say it all the time. I don't. We crossed that 20,000 subscriber mark on YouTube. You know, this just started as a couple Browns fans just talking. Then I hopped on, and what a journey it's been. Now, none of it happens without you guys. So thank you. Thank you so much for listening, and thanks for watching. Thanks so much for being part of this Dogs Podcast community. So let's kick it back. Let's go and look into that 2025 offseason. Let's look how things you guys kind of remember when I said this, kind of felt stuck. And this ultimately led to one of the most significant organizational resets in Browns history. So let's take a look at the 2025 offseason and the expectations. Because you can put in the comments, what were yours? Because I think as I look back on it, it's important to remember the expectations and what they were when this whole thing started in 2025. Because I said I was stuck. I didn't even know. The Browns entered the offseason with more questions, and the most of those questions centered around quarterback. Before the draft, the Browns were freaking out. Browns fans, that is, were freaking out because it felt like everybody didn't know what to expect. Like Deshaun Watson was recovering from Achilles injuries. We didn't even want him around. We traded for Kenny Pickett, and we tried to convince ourselves that that was a plan. Looking back, it felt like he just wasted an entire offseason of reps. Then the Browns brought back Joe Flacco just before the draft. He wasn't the long-term answer, and we knew that. But he was someone that knew the city, the organization, and he already proven that he could win here and win football games with Kevin Stefanski. Then came the draft. Head scratcher. We draft 2 quarterbacks. It was one of the biggest off-season stories that year. Fans started asking whether the coaches were on the same page with the front office, what the plan was, who's going to get all these reps. How do you develop 2 quarterbacks really at the same time? And at the same time, the receiver room, it was a concern. Man, I thought we were drafting Travis Hunter. Even Journey, guys. Journey at the draft party sold it hard. But we traded down, got Mason Graham, recouped the first round, and we got some dogs that year, but not really kind of what we wanted because the offensive line was aging. The receiver room lacked playmakers. And those issues would be major storylines during that season. But there was another storyline that hung over everything. And let's get into Myles Garrett. You guys remember how this actual offseason started last year? Or how the season 2024 ended? Myles Garrett had a parade down Radio Row at the Super Bowl, but it wasn't glowing. He wanted to win. He was questioning where the Browns were going, and he wanted out. At the time, most of us figured that Andrew Berry would eventually get a deal done, which he did, extended him, and it was move on time. Or so we thought. As it turned out, it was only the beginning. But the defense was coming off another great year. Myles Garrett was still the best player on the roster and in the league. There was excitement about the rookie class. We had Judkins, we had Fannin, we had Schlesinger, we had Gabriel, we had Shador, we had Graham, we had Sampson. Pretty damn good draft. It's not all the guys that we wanted. Most of us believe this team could compete if the offense could only be average. But we know what happened. It didn't, unfortunately. And as the season unfolded, every concern Browns fans had and on this podcast became a reality. The offensive line struggled. The receiver room lacked consistency. Quarterback situation maintained unsettled. And by the end of the season, the Browns would find themselves searching for a completely new direction. But before we get that, let's see how that's set up. So we're gonna get a little bit into the training camp and the preseason. So that's kind of where we're at right now. OTAs, mini camp, training camp rolled along. And there were signs that things weren't as solid as we hope. But man, this time's a time for new hope, Got to be optimistic. But a lot of it was false hope. The big storyline was the quarterback room, and it's always going to be the quarterback room because if you have 4 quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks, whatever quarterbacks, like John Mann said, you got 0 quarterbacks. We need a surefire starter, and that's what we not got last year. Joe was the veteran. Kenny was a supposed, plan. And then we had our 2 rookies. Every practice report, every highlight, every rep seemed to generate debate across Browns media and social media. That sounds familiar. It's like what it's right now. But there's only really 2 guys they're talking about. But looking back, one of the bigger warning signs wasn't quarterback, guys. It was the receiver room. It was completely up for grabs, but the only guys that were practicing were Floria, McDonald. I think he's on the Red Blacks up here in Canada now. Gage Larvadan, several of the other young players that were out there. generating buzz, spending a lot of time. We were talking about players that most fans haven't even heard of. And while those players and it made great plays and it was good for them, where were our projected starters practicing? They're injured. The Browns were searching for answers, and at the time, all we were getting was like depth pieces. So looking back, obviously, this sounds like uncertainty, guys. There's also a now famous, I don't know why it's famous. It's the Shedeur Sanders storyline. Every throw seemed to be scrutinized. There were stories about limited reps, frustration, and those were the Shedeur fans. They were frustrated. They couldn't see him not being successful and not getting his. There were stories about him throwing the garbage cans after practice. Depending on who you listen to, Sanders was either buried on the depth chart or being unfairly looked at. The reality was probably somewhere in the middle. Then the preseason came, and you know what preseason football can be? It can be dangerous because it creates expectations. The Browns opened up against the Panthers on August 6th, and for all the talk surrounding Sanders, he had to step up and step in, and he delivered. 14 of 23, 130 yards, 61% completion percentage, through two touchdowns, 2 sacks, and posted a 106.8 rating with a 30-10 victory. And if I remember correctly, didn't get much practice because everybody was injured, so he had to play. The running game showed some life. The defense held Carolina to 10 points. And suddenly Browns fans started wondering, hey, maybe there's something there. The following week in Philadelphia, it was Dylan Gabriel. Man, he looked okay. 13 for 18, 143 yards, 72% completion percentage. But his touchdown, he threw to the other team, pick 6. He took 2 sacks as well. But the Browns still won. Running the game looked solid. Defense looked fast. Like there's some buy-in. Quarterbacks are still competing. Then came the final game against the Rams, the dress rehearsal. Joe Flacco looked exactly like you'd want a veteran to look. He completed 9 of 10 passes for 90 yards and a touchdown. See you later. You don't need to play no more. Gabriel came in, 12 of 19, 129 yards and a score. Then there was Sanders. Just had a really bad game. Took too many sacks. Held on the ball too long. That eventually pull him. Tyler Huntley came in, didn't even run a play. I think there was 3 penalties, and we kicked a field goal and won. But when the dust settled, the Browns were 3-0 in the preseason. Preseason champs, like always, right, guys? But, guys, even if you go 3-0, there's going to be some expectations. Pickett was traded before that game. Quarterback room was interesting. The running game improved, it looked like. Defense looked solid. But where were the playmakers? I don't know who the starting receivers were. We just added a guy that had another off-field problem other than Junkins. It was Bond, Isaiah Bond. Fannin looked good. He was intriguing. And on the defensive side, Schlesinger looked like a leader. And don't forget about Judkins. He looked good too. Showed flashes. The Browns were undefeated. The vibes were good, I guess. The headlines were positive. Looked like they were on the right track as far as buy-in's concerned. But that's the thing about preseason football. You just don't know until the games start to count. So now let's get on to this journey. We're going to move into the first quarter of the season. You guys remember how that started off was with the Bengals. And to me, guys, that was kind of a letdown. We lost by a point, but we left 4 points on the board. And you guys remember what happened. The Browns missed an extra point in a field goal, and that could have changed to a 20-17 victory. And it was frustrating because the D did what they were supposed to. They held the Bengals to 17 points, but they laid an egg, 16. Yikes. Special teams didn't do us any better. One of the worst defenses in the league last year. They gave up 29 points a game and 500 yards. But I mean, and I don't even want to talk about the next game. It was a 14-17 stuff, 41-17 blowout. And we're getting nervous now. But let's talk about the Packers game. I mean, in all our heads, we all thought it was going to be 0-3. Green Bay, they led 10-0. I think that was pretty much it until about 4 minutes to go in this game. But let me get back to this. So Cleveland didn't get on the board. Oh, there we go. 4 minutes a game. Andy Schmidt got us on there. So 10-3. Then the chaos happened. The Packers threw an interception, giving the Browns life. 2 plays later, Judkins punches in a 1-yard touchdown. Guys, it's 10-10. Green Bay has a chance to win it, though. Same old Browns, right? Field goal, 13-10. See you later. Flip the script, boys and girls. Shelby Harris. He blocks a field goal. Cleveland runs down, gets a Smith field goal, and wins the game. And just like that, guys, feel a sigh of relief here. We're 1-2. The defense is going to have to play like that for the rest of the season, right? So we can win all these 13-10 games. But just like the Baltimore game, not even a chance to talk about this Lions game. They wiped the floor with us, and I ain't lying. Ha ha, boom, boom. That was for Josh. He likes those dad jokes. But guys, in all seriousness, like the momentum from the Cleveland game where they beat the Packers, it disappeared. We're 1-3 now. We have far more questions than we have answers. The offenses can't be consistent. Quarterback situation seemed unsettled. Flacco just was a shell of himself. Slow. Receiver room, he's missing guys all over the field, and they lacked a true identity. Outside of one miraculous comeback from Green Bay, there really wasn't much optimism. But as frustrating as those 4 games were, there were some good signs for the future to come. Harold Fannin, he was catching balls. Quinshawn looked tough, physical. And while most of the attention was focused in on Miles because he's the star and the face of the team, Swessinger was quietly becoming a leader. The numbers weren't eye-popping just yet, but guys, you could see this. Instincts, motor, and he was always around the ball. Those young players, they weren't changing the game yet, but there was a foundation being laid. The problem was that it's going to be in the future, and it wasn't part of this season. And after 4 weeks, we're 1-3. The offense is broken. Special teams are costing us games. Coaches don't have any answers. Unfortunately, things are not going to get any better. And we're going to talk a little bit about London and the midseason collapse. So this is the second part of the second quarter of the season, let's say.
This episode is sponsored by Kalshi. All right, Browns fans, you know, we've all messed around with the sports books before, right? And let's be honest, you're always kind of playing against the house. But with Kalshi, it's different. You're not betting against some sports book. You're trading against other real-world people. There's no house trying to beat you. Kalshi just runs the marketplace. So if you think the public is wrong, like everybody's overreacting to these smoke screens in the draft or sleeping on a prospect, you can literally take the other side of the market. And it's not just sports either. You can trade on other real-world stuff, interest rates, inflation, even wild weather outcomes. It works like this. Simple yes or no markets, your risk is capped up front, and your payout is locked in. So if you trust your takes and instincts, and I know you guys do, go check out Kalshi and see what markets are live right now. So head over to Kalshi.com/dogs, KALSHI.com/dogs, DAWGS. Deposit just $20, and Kalshi's going to match you. They're going to put $20 free into your account. That's a great deal to get started. So again, Kalshi.com/dogs, $20 match when you deposit $20 into your account.
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
So it all starts in London, England. And unlike most Browns fans, I actually got to go. I had a blast. It was super fun. I witnessed Dylan Gabriel's first start. And when I think back to that, the first thing that I really remember, what I remember is Quinshon losing a touchdown because Isaiah Bond was flagged for a holding play. So obviously we don't get that touchdown. And then I think right after, doesn't Conklin get an illegal formation penalty? Now it's another 10 yards back or another penalty, and we lose an 11-yard gain. We'll talk about that in a bit. Frustrating. And then, man, the Browns are just fighting themselves, blowing game after game. But with 3:21, we're still tied. 3:21. And you know what we get for our game-winning drive? No win and only 16 seconds off the clock. That's right. 16 seconds. Minnesota, on the other hand, does what good teams do. Bring it all the way down with just 25 seconds remaining, and Jordan Addison hauls in the game winner. See you later. And all I got is my figgy pudding to crying. Browns dropped another close one. And for some reason that year, don't take a bye week after that game, and pretty much played like they did against the Ravens and the Lions. Not much to talk about, 23-9. I mean, Miles might have got a sack in that. And more weirdness, in the quarterback room. Bye, Joe. You're traded to the Bengals. The Bengals, never do trades with them. Also, we do get another trade that would pay big dividends. Say see you later, too. Greg Newsome and a 6th-round pick, and we get a 7th-rounder back. And Tyson Campbell, didn't know much about him. Physical guy that's played out of position. I'm not really out of position. I should say he was more of a press guy than he was a zone guy. So he's in the right space, and we'll see why. But the next game that came up for me, I went down to Cleveland for that Dolphins game. And to be honest with you, I didn't know what to expect. Both teams are down on their luck. I don't even think the Dolphins had won a game by that point. Weather was miserable. Rain, wind, typical Cleveland football weather by the lake. But for one afternoon, everything clicked. Thanks to Quinshon. That guy was in the Wildcat, carrying the ball traditionally, of course, creating explosive plays in the backfield. Looked like a man possessed. Guys, the Browns had 17 points at halftime. That's all we were mustering up. This is remarkable. Guys, we hit 34 for the game. And we were rolling. Sorry, we hit 31 for the game. Tyson Campbell went 34 yards for a touchdown. Great trade. Of course, that was about as good as it was going to get for 2025 as far as awesome wins were concerned. Then the Browns, they follow up with another poor performance, and we cannot beat the New England Patriots. They have our number. Doesn't matter where we play them. We don't play them well, ever. But at least we go down to the Super Bowl. Sorry. The representatives of the AFC in the Super Bowl. But that doesn't make that loss any easier to swallow. The one bright spot, though, that I will highlight, I think it was game 7, game 8 maybe. Miles is just at 5 sacks. We're wondering what's going on with him. He explodes for 5 sacks. Wow. And at that time, we didn't know, but that was the start of something big. We're going to witness one of the greatest pass rushing seasons in NFL history. And by the end of October, the Browns were searching for consistency, searching for offense, hope. Bannon and QJ were doing their part, and unfortunately, it was just going to get tougher, guys. So let's talk about the next part of the season. This is kind of like Shador's opportunity, but it starts against the Jets, and we know Gabriel Dillon started that game. And unfortunately, the first game back after the bye, they didn't inspire much confidence at all in any fan. The Jets really didn't do a whole lot offensively. They didn't do a whole lot to really win the game, but they put their nose to the grindstone on special teams and shoved 2 touchdowns down our throat. Ironically, though, Cleveland managed to crack the 17-point barrier. Actually, we scored 20 points. The problem is the 2 other touchdowns we let on special teams got them up to 27 points. Guys, that Fields only threw for 50 yards. 50 freaking yards, and we lost. Then the following week against Baltimore, they actually surprised us and played Baltimore quite well. Dylan Gabriel suffers a concussion, and suddenly Shador is thrust into action. The problem is we found out after the game, he didn't get any reps at all. No meaningful practice time. And that's par for the course when sometimes you're a backup, but not when you're a backup rookie. Come on. And that's what he looked like at that game. He looked like a rookie that had no preparation. The timing wasn't there. Still has confidence. I mean, he almost threw the game-winning touchdown to Larvadan, if I remember. The offense was not helping. The offensive line, the receivers, they're no good. But we got our vaulted defense, right? Oh, just wait. The Ravens went for it on 4th and short. Remember that tush push that became a 38-yard touchdown or whatever it was? Now we're only 2-8. And at that point, the playoffs aren't even in the conversation anymore. We got to shift to development. And that's when things really started to change. The following week against the Raiders, Sanders finally got something that he hadn't all season. A full freaking week of practice. And it showed. He was noticeably locked in. I was at the game. It was a blast. The ball came out on time. He looked decisive. He's always been confident, but then there's confident where the ball's going. I'm kind of saying like he was in rhythm. The offense seemed in rhythm. The Browns connected on explosive plays. Isaiah Bond looked like an emerging legitimate threat. But guys, this was what did it for me. 10 freaking sacks. That's right, 10. I've never been at a game. I don't think I've seen more than, I don't think I've seen combined 10 sacks at a game for both teams. One team, 10 sacks. And man, it looked like maybe they came together again. Maybe they're going to rally behind Sanders. And then another flopperoo against the San Francisco 49ers. 28-8. Scored 8 freaking points. Now we're 3-9, and we secured the 16th losing season in 18 years. So let's talk about Tennessee. While the Browns found a way to lose some weird games, here's another one. And what do we call them? Questionable decisions after you score your 6-point touchdown. I guess that's what we'll call it. Shador Sanders delivered, though, what was arguably one of the best rookie performances of the season. Guys, 364 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, 29 yards rushing with a touchdown. For the first time all year, Browns fans got a glimpse of what the future may be. Season was lost, the record's ugly, but there was some hope. And that hope comes in with the emergence of guys that they got in the draft last year. The emergence of Fannin, Wessinger, Judkins, and Bond. One of the biggest mistakes that people make when they look at the 2025 season is only focusing on the record. Guys, it sucks. I get it. But there was a foundation being laid. Let's start with Quinshawn. Guy, through the season, he looked like the best offensive player on the roster. The guy's getting hit almost 2 yards behind the line of scrimmaging, but averaged, 4 yards a pop? That's crazy. Sucks that touchdown got called back in London. Dominated the Dolphins. Gave the Browns an identity. And before his injury, he looked like a player that the Browns could build around. And then there's Harold Fannin, our number 1 receiver that's a tight end. By the end of the season, he led us in receiving yards, became a security blanket for all the quarterbacks that played that year, all 3 of them. He's moving chains, creating mismatches, made plays after the catch. I think he showed why Moncton's going to lick his chops playing this guy this year. and why tight ends are a premium position for him. His emergence would directly influence many of the Browns' decisions during the 2026 offseason. And then there was Bond. I mean, for some reason, Shador could figure out throw deep to him. Nobody else could. It's because they didn't want to get hit. Speed, explosiveness, threatens the defense vertically. As Sanders gained confidence, Bond became one of his primary beneficiaries. And then on defense, we had Schlesinger. Well, everybody was focused in on that sack chase. Schlesinger was quietly becoming the leader of this defense. Guys, 156 tackles, 11 tackles for losses, 2.5 sacks, 2 interceptions. Defensive rookie of the frickin' year. Played with one leg for the last 2 games? By December, he wasn't a rookie anymore. That guy was the leader of the defense. And again, the record is what it was, but the young core told a different story. Think Junkins, Fannin, Bond, Schlesinger, Sanders. Those players gave Browns something they desperately needed heading into the offseason. Reason to believe. And as the losses continued to pile up, another story was unfolding. Let's talk about that chase. That chase Miles put us on to get that record. Man, as the season unraveled, another story was quietly becoming very compelling. And why it was quiet, we'll get into it. He was chasing history, but at the beginning of the season, there wasn't much to talk about. This is why he's quiet. 7 games, only 5 sacks. Myles Garrett, highest played non-quarterback in the league. What's going on? The Browns were losing. The offense couldn't score. Playoffs were slipping away as he was doing it. So focus took a little bit off what was going wrong. But then came New England. Garrett exploded for 5 sacks, as we said. Then the conversation changed. Wow, he's at 10. He's up there. Baltimore came, 4 more sacks. 16 on the season with some games in between that. The record felt attainable, and then Garrett played the Raiders. He got 3 more. He's at 9 freaking teen. And again, once we got to Chicago, he was at 21.5. Against Buffalo, he got 22. He was up to 22. Then came Pittsburgh. I will tell you, I've never seen a quarterback not want to be a poster boy as bad as I saw Aaron Rodgers. The Browns won 13-6, but Garrett remained at those 22 sacks because Aaron Rodgers was on a mission not to give that to him. I think more than getting that win. Everything came down to Cincinnati. It's the last game of the year, boys and girls. Playoffs are over. Season's over. There's one thing left for us fans and him. Get that damn record. We end up beating him behind 2 defensive touchdowns, and Garrett got his sack. Number 23, the new NFL single season record. And anyone who says that Joe Burrow simply gave him the record, you got to go back and watch that first game. Miles hit him so hard, I think he laid on the ground for 39 of those 40 seconds he gets in this on the clock to call play. And Miles was terrorizing him. But the other thing, sure, Burrow went down easily, but look who was in front of him was Shelby Harris. He's going to swallow him up anyways. He freaking high-fived the ref. That's how close he was to that. The sack was earned. The record was earned. And in a season that gave Browns fans little to celebrate, we got to witness one of the greatest individual seasons in NFL history. But I think, ironically, that accomplishment would be also the beginning of the end for Myles Garrett in Cleveland. So, guys and girls, put it in the comments. See if you agree with me. Why did 5-12 happen? When people look back at the 2025 season, they're going to look at a 5-12 football team. But when you actually watch the game, the story is a little bit more complicated. The Browns just weren't a good football team. But they also weren't as bad as their record suggested. Just think about this. I'll put it out there for you. Think about the losses in 2s. And you probably heard me say this. Week 1 against Cincinnati. 2 missed kicks. Extra point and a field goal. It's a 4-point swing and a win. Take a look at the Vikings game. 66 yards wiped out by 2 penalties. Also think about the 2 possessions. 16 seconds for us and the rest for the Vikings. Another loss. The Jets game. You guys know the 2. I'm not even going to say it. You know the 2 things that happened in that game. And their quarterback threw for 50 freaking yards and still won. That's not 2, but still pisses me off. Titans game, 2 after touchdown plays that were botched. Points left on the field again. Another 1-score loss. Change that handful of plays, and this is pie in the sky, I get it, but you're 9-8 instead of 5-12. And hell, you can take the Green Bay game out if you want. We didn't win that, let's say. We're 8-9, whatever. But even some of those that came out, you guys get what I'm saying. Now, while that's very optimistic, I don't want it to be a trap for you. The Browns were not unlucky only. They've got real problems. The offense never developed an identity. The offensive line regressed. They already regressed last year, guys. They regressed again. The receiver room lacked any consistency, and the quarterback room never had a clear direction. Special teams was abysmal. Critical, crucial mistakes. The coaching staff never seemed able to solve any of it. Lots of excuses. Meanwhile, the defense was carrying the team. Outside of some concerns with the run defense generating pressure beyond Myles Garrett, the defense looked like it was largely doing its job. Actually, I'll say it since Malik Collins went out, that's what the run defense was a lot of. But to get back to it, the offense simply couldn't hold up its end of the bargain. That's why the season was so frustrating. He wants to see 16.8 points a game. The Browns weren't getting blown out every week, but they were losing footballs because they couldn't execute the little things. Eventually, those little things cost people their jobs. And this brings us to the reset.
This episode is sponsored by Dash Dog Food. Browns fans, Butcher Box for Pets has rebranded to Dash Dog Food. Same great products, same great company, just a new name, a new brand, but with that comes an even better deal for you guys. Now you can get 60% off your first subscription order of the premium slow cooked nutrition dog food or the premium fresh dog food. Just go to dashdogfood.com/dogs, DAWGS, and use promo code DOGS. As you guys know, we're the dogs, but let's not kid ourselves. The most important dogs in our lives are, well, our dogs. And they're not just pets, like I said. They're part of the family. So the question is, what are you actually feeding them? At Dash Dog Food, they believe in real ingredients. Their pet foods have been developed and certified by vet nutritionists to contain 0 artificial flavors or preservatives. You get protein-packed formula that includes pre- and postbiotics to support your dog's vitality and their digestion. And speaking of the benefits of Dash Dog Food, Dash delivers their high-quality food right to your door. So just choose the delivery schedule you need for your dog, and you can change, modify, or pause your plan at any time. So try it out today. Your dog will love you for upgrading their meal times. dashdogfood.com/dogs and use promo code DOGS to get 60, not 50, but now 60% off your first subscription order of the premium slow cooked nutrition fresh dog food or the premium fresh dog food. Minimum purchase of $34, 60% discount applies to subscription orders only, 1 use per customer, cancel at any time. This episode is sponsored by Kozar Wellness. That's right, Browns fans. Browns QB1 Bernie Kosar wants you guys to shop Kozar. Go to shopkozar.com right now and use code DOGS, DAWGS, to get 10% off your order. If you're not familiar with Bernie Kosar's wellness product line, go check it out, shopkozar.com. Again, performance-focused wellness that's inspired by NFL legend Bernie Kosar, and it's built for discipline, energy, focus, and recovery. Wellness supplements, inhalers, alkaline water, and then go check the website right now because they've got a limited drop of autographed signed Bernie Kosar bobbleheads and limited autographed Bernie Kosar prints that you guys can buy. They've got Kosar wellness mugs. Just go check out the website and support Bernie Kosar and his mission to help others feel better, think clearer, and live longer with real restorative nutrition rooted in resilience. And who doesn't love Bernie freaking Kosar, guys. Go to shopkosar.com. Check out everything he has going on at the website, and make sure you guys use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out to get 10% off your entire order.
The 120-day reset on January 5th, 2026. That's the day when things changed for this season. The Browns officially became it officially became known as the 120-day reset. And Kevin Stefanski was relieved of his duties. People weren't surprised. The Browns spent most of the season searching for offensive answers, never found anything. He's an offensive guru, right? That's what we were told. The offense lacked identity. The quarterback room had no direction. It's not like a broken record here, guys. And just all year, player development was inconsistent. Despite having some talent, just never put a sustainable formula together. The organization made a decision, and tweaks weren't good enough anymore. The Browns just didn't need an adjustment. They needed a reset. They needed a complete reset. The message was clear. The defense, it wasn't perfect, but wasn't the problem. The offense was, and we have no depth. Everything on the offensive line, to the receiver room, to the quarterback, needed to be reevaluated. We need change. And if the Browns are going to build the offense, they need a coach capable of building that offense. Has to be modern. That search eventually led them to Todd Monken. Todd Monken, guys, I know nobody, almost seemed like our last resort at this point. But so far, I'm not complaining for what I see. Monken's going to reshape the roster. But first, he had to reshape this coaching staff. And that's the next phase. Coaching changes, guys. Once the Browns committed to this reset, the next step was finding the people to execute it. The Browns made it clear at the beginning of this coaching search. Offense first. Offense first, guys. We need weapons. Remember that? We said that the year before. So for me personally, I respect Jim Schwartz. But he wasn't going to turn this offense around. Like, I can't even remember who he had as an offensive coordinator when he was a coach like 12 years ago. He's going to make this offense modern? I just don't see that. The Browns needed a new vision. The vision came from Todd Monken. The guy had a reputation of adaptability, quarterback development, building offenses around personnel rather than forcing them into a system. He also started off as a receiver coach, guys. We need receivers. More importantly, he had a plan. The Browns retained much of their defensive identity while completing an overhaul of their offensive philosophy. So let's get back to the defense. Mike Rutenberg, he was promoted to defensive coordinator from the Atlanta Falcons. Does something similar to Schwartz. The Browns also, though, did him a solid and added a respected defensive mind, one of the most knowledgeable defensive minds in NFL history, in Dom Capers. He's a senior defensive assistant for them. On offense, Monken assembled his staff around teaching, development, and athleticism. Specifically looking for that. George Warhop, he was brought back to rebuild the offensive line. And he brought Travis Switzer over from, I guess it's Schweitzer, was how you're supposed to say it, to join the staff to help develop the quarterback room and assist in implementing Monken's vision. Special teams also saw a change with Brian Storer. He specializes in the kicking unit, punter, kicker. The message was clear. Keep what works on defense, fix everything on offense. And for the first time in years, every coach hire was pointed in that direction. Well, what's the biggest rebuild that we did? We can talk about free agency, but let's just pop into the offensive line just for a little bit. This was the biggest part of the reset. And honestly, I don't think enough people appreciate how massive a change this is. When Monken and his new staff arrived, they weren't inheriting one or two holes along the offensive line. There was no line. Conklin gone, Joel Bitonio, well, we now know Bitonio's retiring. Posick unsigned, Teller unsigned. Suddenly, nearly every veteran starter that had defined one of the NFL's best offensive lines the last several years are not here anymore. All we got is Tevin Jenkins left. Think about that for a second. For years, Browns fans could count on Bitonio, Teller, Posick, and Conklin. Now they're all gone. In fact, this is arguably the biggest offensive line reset since we came back in 99. The Browns responded aggressively, traded for Titus Howard, free agent signee Zion Johnson, free agent signee Elgin Jenkins. Some fans look at those moves, saw overkill. I saw it as a necessity. The Browns weren't trying to replace one player. They're trying to build a unit. And when you look back at the failures of 2025, 2024, makes perfect sense. Offense couldn't protect consistently. Running game lacked consistency. Quarterback never looked comfortable. Before you fix anything, you got to fix the guys up front. The Browns understood that, and for the first time in a long time, they invested accordingly. Free agency, obviously there was more than just the offensive line. One of the biggest additions was Quincy Williams. We don't have JOK anymore, and his future is still uncertain. Browns needed speed, leadership, and production at linebacker. This guy gives them all three. The Browns also made some under-the-radar moves. We need depth. Daniel Thomas brought in for special teams. He is a gunner. It makes a lot of sense. Look at the Jets game. I keep bringing that up, but look at it. The Browns also added Kalea Davis from San Francisco. Not flashy, no highlight reels. Just helps address one of the reoccurring complaints, stopping the run. Davis gives them another physical body that they can put on the inside, strengthens the defensive line rotation. Same with Jack Stoll, signing a blocking tight end. We need that. Perfect complement to Harold Fannin Jr. He's a receiving threat. He's got to work on his blocking. The Browns also signed Tylan Wallace from Baltimore. I know he returned a touchdown on special teams, but he also is a better gunner. None of these signings were splashy. None of them won the offseason. But that's my point. The Browns aren't trying to win March. They're trying to fix the weaknesses that showed up every Sunday on a 5-12 team. And the free agency largely complete. All attention can turn to the draft. So let's talk about the draft. And that's the next part of the reset. And if we're being honest, I think most of us thought the Browns were going to come away with a receiver pretty early. For months, it was debate, though. Are we going to draft a tackle first? Are we going to draft a receiver first? Vice versa. That was a real conversation. There wasn't really going to be anyone else. And I would say the majority of Browns fans are Ohio State fans, and they wanted Carnell Tate. He was going at number 4. But if you draft a receiver high, like any position, there's better odds of it working out for you. But we had to go in a different path. I mean, they had the 6th pick overall, and we traded it to Kansas City and got Spencer Fano. And when Todd Monken talked about wanting athletic, tough, intelligent football players that love football, well, this guy checks off all the boxes. The Browns picked up an additional draft capital as well. Still landed the player that they wanted. That's just good business. And then came the 2nd round pick that we acquired from Jacksonville last year. And we got Concepcion. KC, man. Absolute love it. I'll tell you, Josh had to talk me into this guy. You know, I bought hook, line, and sinker these drops. I just didn't realize that he wasn't getting a good throws his way. But this guy's he's a dynamic playmaker, but he contributes on special teams. It's a 2-for-1 for us. We need both. The Browns struggled mightily in the intermediate game. It's exactly what we got him for. Can create those yards. Yak guy. Turn short gains into explosive plays. That's what punt returners do, for Pete's sakes. You know? And at the end of the 1st round, I was shocked. Everything that I wanted in that draft. Offensive line got better. Receiver room got better. 2 major needs addressed. Then came day 2. At this point, being a Browns fan, you're like, how's it going to go bad? How's it going to go bad for us? Guys, we came away with David Boston, Emmanuel McNeil-Warren. What the heck? This can't be. Am I dreaming? We got one of the biggest radius catchers in the draft and arguably the biggest ball hawk. The guys that like McNeil-Warren is simply a turnover machine. But, as we learned over the years, good teams invest in the trenches, and then we move some picks around, but had to come back up and get Austin Barber. And I think it's a pick that's going to age real well. He plays tackle. That's what he was drafted as, but I see him as a guard because you got to remember Joel Bitonio, he was a tackle at Nevada before coming one of the best guards in Browns history. The biggest surprise for me was Parker Brailsford. Guys, were you like kind of scratching your head with this one? Because I was. First glance, I didn't understand it because I just looked at his size, just like I looked at Casey's dropping habits. I was like, nah, I don't know about this. Is he going to be a fullback? Are we going to try and make him into Ricard? Is that what we're going to do? But then, I thought Jason Kelce wasn't that big when they drafted him. And then I said, you know what? They are prioritizing off athletic offensive line guys. A center that can pull is vital in any offense, and it'll probably be vital in Moncton's. I'll round out the rest real fast. We got a spark plug in the linebacker, Justin Jefferson, the other Justin Jefferson out of Alabama. Tight end, Joe Royer. Taylon Green, who's a freak. I think he won every combine since Terrell Pryor. And another tight end in Carson Ryan. Every single one of those picks addressed something that we need that was broken in 2025. Browns just didn't acquire talent. I think they acquired answers, but you guys can tell me. Myles Garrett trade. Let's talk about it. I didn't want to, but it was part of this season. When the 120-day reset happened, there is a rule that you can push certain bonuses back on the 15th day after the new league year starts. Browns did that for Myles Garrett. Didn't seem like much, did it? Except Josh, he warned us. Looking back, it was our first clue, but I was telling you, if you've been watching the show, I took a big swim in that river, the old river of denial. And on June 1st, obviously the unthinkable happened. The Browns trade Myles Garrett. When the news broke, I had the same reaction that everybody else had. You don't trade a unicorn. That's a fair argument. He's a Hall of Famer. I want him on the team for his rest of his career. Just set the single sack record. He's one of the best defensive players of his generation. Players don't come around like that. But if you watch the show, you know the counter argument. Teams don't trade players like Jared Verse either. Defensive Rookie of the Year, 2-time Pro Bowler, still 25 years old on a rookie salary. They don't do that. So the reality is the situation became bigger than football. Myles went to Radio Row. We said that earlier. Didn't want to be here anymore. I understand where he's coming from. He spent 9 years here. What can he do? He's not putting points on the board. He went through the changes, the quarterback changes, the front office, rebuild after rebuild. He was a professional, put the sacks where he needed to be. But after 9 years, he deserves a shot to win and win a Super Bowl. Might be flimsy on the quarterback he's depending on, flimsy on his back. But the Browns are going to go in a different direction. Where they're going to go, they're building not around a person that's 30. They're building and accelerating a reset by acquiring a 25-year-old cornerstone with draft capital. So I don't have any ill will towards him. Quite honestly, I hope he wins a Super Bowl. He earned the opportunity. So why did they choose Verse? Guys, I think it's because we had Carson Switzinger in the wings. He's the leader. Doesn't have to be all on Jared Verse, although he sounds like he wants to be one. Think about it, man. You got a defensive cornerstone and you're trading Miles. But, Carson's the defensive rookie of the year. He's the quarterback of that defense. And now he's the face until Verse comes around. So the Browns got a cornerstone. Now they got another one. There's not a gaping hole in this defensive line. And we're just crossing our fingers with lottery picks because Jared Verse isn't one. He's not a draft pick. He's not a projection. He's not a lottery ticket. He's a proven player that can play at a high level. The Browns didn't replace Myles Garrett. You have to get that in your head because you can't. But they did acquire a person that can define the next era of Browns football. So when you have Verse, Schlesinger, Junkins, Fannin, Bond, Conception, Sanders, Fano, and all that additional draft capital, there's guys I'm not mentioning. There's just not enough time. The Browns weren't tearing something down. They're building something new. So in your opinion, what is 2026 trying to be? The one thing I love about the offseason is that every move points in the same direction. This offseason specifically. For years, it felt like the Browns were collecting talent without necessarily having a clear vision. Blake says it all the time. Get talent, throw it against the wall, see what sticks. This offseason felt different. Moncton wants an offensive line that's athletic. They drafted Fano and they drafted Brailsford. Moncton wants to attack the middle of the field. We got Fannin Jr. We also got KC, but he's got that yak ability too. We want a physical running game. Look at Quinshawn. Look at Amari Marshall. He looked physical last year. I think he's gonna do something. Moncton wants quarterback development. You got Sanders, you got Green. Defensively, he wants speed. What's Rutenberg's thing? Heart, mind, fist. They want aggression. They want players who attack. That's why Schlesinger, Verse, Quincy Williams, and the rest of these defensive additions fit so naturally. So for the first time in a long time, every move the Browns made points towards the same identity. So what do you think? Where does that leave us heading into 2026? I know you guys want the answer from us, but I can't tell anything in shorts just yet. The Browns, though, I can tell you, just didn't tweak it. They rebuilt it. They changed the coaches. They rebuilt the offensive line. They added speed at receiver. They invested in depth for special teams. They found a franchise left tackle in Spencer Fano. They found building blocks in all the guys that I mentioned. Junkins, Fannin, Carson, Schlesinger, Casey, Bond, Shador, Jared. Maybe most importantly, they're all picked to go the same direction. And 2025 never felt like that. The Browns spent most of the season trying to figure out who the hell they were. I think now we know. Will it work? I can't tell you that. But for the first time in a long time, it feels like every move the Browns made points to the same vision. 2025, it was super frustrating, disappointing, and painful to watch. But if the Browns get this right, they'll look back on that season as a moment that forced them to get to now. So see you later, 2025. Hello, 2026. And as always, guys, that's it. Tell me what you think. Leave a voicemail. Go to thedogspodcast.com. Go to socials. I had a blast doing this. I hope you can see, I'm passionate about this. I think the Browns are on the right track. Yeah! So, man, and for Josh, I hope he's enjoying, relaxing, is on his vacation. But I am Kenny Mack. I'm out. Let's go, Brownies. Hoo, 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 hoo.
It's in our blood, it's in our bones, orange and brown, yeah, we ride for our own like a dog pack running. We ain't alone, game day comes, get ready for the show. It's our call, it's our bark, it's our song. We stand tall, yeah, we've been here all along. Through it all, the dog pound standing strong. We all dogs, yeah, we all dogs. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dogs Podcast. Follow us on social media at The Dogs Podcast. And join our dog pack community at jointhedogs.com. We are dogs!
This episode is sponsored by ISSA. Browns fans, if you're into health and fitness, have you ever wondered how you could maybe turn those hobbies and your passion into an actual career? If that sounds interesting to you, then ISSA has the opportunity you've been looking for. ISSA is the International Sports Science Association, and they can help you become a certified personal trainer in as little as 3 months. And right now you can get $100 off your certification when you sign up through our link, joinissa.com/dogs, DAWGS. Now, certifications are 100% online, self-study, and self-paced. You can study anywhere from your phone, tablet, or computer. And the final exam is open note, open book, aka piece of cake. Except you fitness nuts probably don't eat a ton of cake, so let's just call it a piece of delicious protein bar. And ISSA has the #1 job guarantee in the industry. If you get certified and sign up to be a certified trainer with ISSA, you have a job guarantee or your money back. ISSA has over 10,000 gym partners that have over 73,000 open jobs for trainers right now. And you don't need a 4-year degree or a 2-year degree. You just need your certification to qualify for these jobs. So what are you waiting for? With certification this simple, there's no excuse not to pursue your passion and become a certified personal trainer today. Get $100 off your certification at joinissa.com/dogs. You've wanted to make a change long enough. Now it's time to do something about it. That's joinissa.com/dogs for $100 off your personal trainer certification.
Every woman knows the feeling, that quick glance over your shoulder in a parking lot, the moment you grip your keys a little tighter walking home. That's exactly why She's Birdie created Birdie 3.0, a personal safety alarm designed by women for women. Just pull the pin and Birdie sounds a loud, attention-grabbing siren. We are talking as loud as a jet engine at 100 feet to help deter danger and alert people nearby. And the new Birdie 3.0 is even better. It's rechargeable, includes a built-in flashlight, and features an on and off switch, so it activates only when you want it to. No embarrassing false alarms. It's small, non-violent, travel safe, and easy to clip to your keys, bag, or backpack, so it's always within reach. It's also super cute and comes in tons of colors to match basically any outfit, so you actually want to have it on you, because everyone deserves to feel safer. Learn more and get your Birdie 3.0 today at shesbirdie.com.